executive session at 9:24 p.m. I'd like to also note for the record, at the request of a member of council discussed, Sam, how should we,
Matters of personnel pertaining to the code enforcement department.
and one other matter. I forget what it
The other executive?
was. The other executive session.
One was canceled.
The one that was canceled?
Another personnel matter regarding allegations made against a borough employee.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, at this time, I entertain a motion to engage attorney John G. Dean of Elliott Greenleaf and Dean, special counsel pursuant to the engagement letter to conduct an independent investigation of the code enforcement department due to several alleged improprieties and the alleged individuals involved.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Wright, second by Mr. Michaels. On the question, for the record, I'll state that Attorney Dean's engagement letter sets a hourly rate of $165 an hour, capped at a total cost of $4,000. We're also going to request regular progress reports from Attorney Dean, as well as a thorough and swift investigation.
I have a question.
Okay.
Yeah, Rob Swalback, 15 Susquehanna Avenue, 44. Regarding that, is there any direction in that contract if there's anything illegal or anything that comes up that needs follow-up from a district attorney that binds them or directs them to do the follow-through on that?
He's going to generate a written report, and if
So whose discretion will be to say whether, if the allegations are criminal, then it will be forwarded to the district attorney?
if he feels they're criminal in nature, he will put that in his report. But just so the record is clear, and for the members of the public present, this initiative is by no means intended to redirect or stifle anybody here who feels that they have information regarding a criminal wrongdoing. If you have it, or if any member of council has it, I want them all to feel free to report it to the appropriate bodies now.
Right.
However, if there's also, in Mr. Dean's impression, some criminal wrongdoing, he's going to include that in the report.
I guess my concern is I want to make sure that it's not up to somebody's discretion, that they follow the letter of the law, and that if something is uncovered, that it is forwarded to the proper authorities.
He's going to submit a recommendation, and I echo what I said earlier. If anybody here or anybody in the community feels that there's any criminal wrongdoing, please, this
Fair enough.
initiative
Thank
is
you.
not intended to redirect or stifle any of that. We want that to occur immediately.
Sure, thank you.
As any borough would.
Any further questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Okay, Mr. Michaels, wanted to discuss the proposal by the police, chief of police.
Well, let me start this way, Chief. Based on your expertise and experience, which of these vehicles do you propose would best fit the needs of our department?
For the plans that I have for the use of the vehicle, the Expedition will be the more appropriate vehicle. And those plans are to incorporate truck, tractor, trailer enforcement in each department.
Okay, so at this time, I'd like to make a motion that,
Before you do, Frank, just so, if you could incorporate this while you're making this motion, and this is as I said in Chief, one of our officers has expressed a great interest in performing the commercial vehicle inspections, correct?
Yes, and I also had an officer from another local department that's already certified who expressed an interest in working part-time for us to do just that.
Okay, and is there any additional, how much additional equipment are we going to need to purchase to perform those?
As you're aware, our officers recently had a pretty major sized drug bust, in which there was a little over $6,000 seized. That hearing is coming up this week, and from what I understand from the defendant's attorney, is that he's willing to forfeit that money over to the DA's office. My intention is to seek part of the funds to purchase the equipment that will be needed through that money.
Just a ballpark figure though, what kind of,
The scales, I believe I have access to without having to purchase.
Okay.
We would be looking as far as other types of tools and equipment. The scales are sized, that's one of the things that we teach them to transport.
right.
But I'm pretty sure I have access to the use of the scales, so that will cost us anything.
But, and is the
And
scales,
if I don't, I do have a relationship with the scales with the state, who in Congress, he's also the gentleman that's also the Secretary's office and stuff, that advised me to be able to utilize them and theirs. If we need these grants, we're going to have to go that route.
all right, second thing, Frank, I would very much like it if you would include in your motion that, this vehicle is to be used for, use during, one, inclement weather, or two, for these commercial vehicles. I don't want this $40,000 vehicle to be used as an everyday cruiser.
Right.
My
Excuse me.
concern-
If I can interrupt that, if you don't mind. I don't like to micromanage. I trust the chief that if we purchase this vehicle, that he will make it known under what conditions it will and will not be used and by whom. Okay? I hate a cookbook approach to anything, saying this, and this, because there's exceptions to everything. I trust his expertise, I trust his leadership and his guidance, and I firmly believe that in trusting him and his department with this vehicle, that he will make sure that it's used for the correct reasons.
Well, I can't be in favor of the borough buying a $40,000.
That's a large expenditure, that's
toy
right.
for them to go mudding down, by the dike whenever they feel like on night shift, for instance. Okay? This is a big expenditure and significantly more than what we pay for the two-wheel drive cruisers that they go through in 3 years or 2 years. We're putting out a lot of money here. I want to make sure that money is going to be protected.
If I may,
You see where I'm coming from?
I do. But I just want to point out that the cost of the expedition is $40,000. The cost of the sedan, I think that's a 37.
Yeah, but that's an all-wheel drive sedan.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they have. Ford only has the all-wheel drive sedan interceptors right now, as far as I understand.
Well, I got a price a lot lower than that.
Well, keep in mind that this.
Hazelton just bought 6, and they paid $35 each.
You didn't have
This
everything in
vehicle comes complete, ready to go on the road, including the markings that are on it. A lot of the vehicles that come in, like when I worked for Kingston, when we purchased a vehicle, we would have to ship it out and have it marked. That would take maybe 2 weeks to get done. And it costs them between $1,000 and $1,500. This comes with everything is in it, the markings are on it, the lighting equipment, the radio, everything is complete. When they deliver it, it's ready to be driven away off the lot. So my point is, the difference between the two vehicles isn't that great. And the reason that I'm going with the Expedition, again, is because the one we have right now has over 150, I think it's about 159,000 miles on it, showing me that it has durability and lastability. The Ford Victoria that we have down there in the front has 111,000 miles on it, and the heater core recently went to it about 2 months ago now, I'm not so recent. And to get that replaced, they have to rip the entire dashboard out, and it's going to cost over $1,000 to have that replaced. With the car that has 111,000 miles, I think that's a risky venture to take. Putting that much money into a car might not last us another 2 years. It rides hard and bad now. The Dodge that we had have has been a lemon since day one, from what I'm told. I can tell you it has over 80,000 miles on it in Enterprise Park. The newer Ford that we have, I believe it has around 11,000. We're in real good shape with that. But right now, because of the maintenance problems we've had with the other vehicles, the mileage is really being racked up on that, which is one of my concerns about only using the Expedition for truck enforcement and for, inclement weather. I need this vehicle to offset the mileage that's being put on the other two cars so that we have a fleet that's going to last us. And that being said, for us to get 150,000 miles on a car is going to be a long time. I don't think it, I think if you didn't put the mileage on it, would you ride it out before you use the motor and drivetrain with it,
Okay, Chief.
But I'm not saying again that it's going to be a 24/7 car or even a 7-day-a-week car.
Chief, this is a 2014 Expedition?
2013.
2013.
See,
Chief, let me ask you a question, and I'm late, so I apologize to everyone. I had a family meeting. What's your policy procedure if inclement weather was to happen? What do you do with the officers? You put them out on the road, you put them in routine? What do you
Right now, we don't have cars that we're safe enough to go on the road if it goes real bad. The Fords that we have are rear-wheel drive. The Dodge is front-wheel drive, but again, it rides really bad. The all-wheel drive sedan would be okay, but it wouldn't really, I wouldn't be able to equip it the way I could the SUV. And when I talk about equipping it, again, that would be money that would be not tax dollars. It would be money that was forfeited from drug dealers that we would use to pay for equipment for it. And also, by doing this, my vehicle maintenance budget is $10,000 a year. If I get a new vehicle, I don't need all that money, and I discussed with Barbara the possibility of using $3,500 out of that towards the down payment for the new car, and then next year reducing that vehicle maintenance budget by $4,000 because we don't have that need if we have a good fleet. Right now, we don't have a good fleet, we need every time we have it's in there. Since I've been employed here, most of the time I've had one car. The Ford has been down for 2 months. The Expedition is right out to the front door, past inspection, and the inspection is expired. And the Dodge is in the shop a lot because it was driven hard. Not only when I say driven hard, I mean it's driven too much during the day.
Yeah, I know exactly. So it's safe to assume that you wouldn't put them on the road or anything like that?
If I had the SUV and there was incidents that required them to go on the road, yes, of course they have to. When the police officer, we have to drive them. And we're sort of like the mailman, we have to drive them when we're in the city of snow. So if we can offer them a safe way to do it, of course it's a lot better.
I mean, Chief, can you give me assurance then that this Expedition will only be used when it is needed?
It will be used, I have to be honest with you, it will be used to supplement the fleet, but it won't be used more than any other car that we have. By far, it would be used less. I'm sure there's officers that won't even want to drive it because they don't like SUVs. But that being said, in order for us to do what we want to do, with the goals I have for the truck enforcement, I need something we can enjoy. And I also need a car that can offset the mileage that's being put on the one Ford that we have right now. Because that's a newer car, it's a 2011 with 11,000 miles on it. If that's the only car in our fleet, it's going to go fast. We're not going to get the dollar guys that we should.
Right, but I would rather see regular mileage put on a $25,000 vehicle as opposed to a $40,000 vehicle. I mean, I have a problem with regular mileage being put on. This is almost $41,000.
It will not be regular mileage. You will not see it on the road like you would the Ford Crown Vic and the Ford the Dodge.
I want to stay publicly since we're all just talking now. My position has always been in the 12 years I've been here, I don't think the Borough of 44 warrants an SUV vehicle. I think one thing that we're not talking about here is that it's going to cost more, number one, to buy the car up front. for a car that, best case scenario, would last 4 to 5 years. We're gonna spend $1,000 more in fuel versus a sedan, just in fuel.
It's
I think-
more than that. It looks like,
No,
we spent $61.50 on fuel for the Expedition and $16.50 for the Police Interceptor.
I think that's over 5 years, Rob. The number is at 2650 versus 3550.
Joe's right.
But still, it's $1,000 more a year,
Oh,
900,
okay, however, yeah.
just in fuel. I think if you look, as we go through tires,
That's right.
crazy, the cost of a tire on a sedan versus an SUV are a lot more. The maintenance of a SUV versus the maintenance of a sedan are also going to be a lot more. I think over the life of this vehicle, it's going to cost the borough a lot of money.
But with the truck enforcement, if you don't.
Chief,
There's a lot. more
Chief,
money.
with all due respect, I sat here for 12 years. I've heard all these promises of enforcement and
Never
different, granted, but I've heard it, and I've seen those promises never come to fruition, and I mean, I think the quote here we have for this Ford Interceptor is high. I think we can get a lot lower. I think we can reuse some of the equipment that we have on the existing vehicle that we're going to put out of service. I think it's a bad decision for the borough of Fort to purchase that vehicle, but that's just my opinion. I only have one vote.
Let me see one more thing. What I've heard about those new cars, those turbos are horrible. The newer Fords. They're horrible. This is the only thing, and I've talked to many people. They're turboed, and they are, I think, and I'm not saying anything's SUV. I haven't made my decision yet. I know we gotta watch with that Dodge, because I just got a really bad taste. And I think if we lean towards the sedan, we have to be careful, because I've heard some bad things about those cars as well.
I mean, we can look at a Chevy model.
That's kind of what I'm saying here. We might need to look around a little bit more, because I've heard bad things about those sedans.
So,
And they're just new.
Is there any reason why the equipment for, the commercial vehicle inspections couldn't be pulled in like a covered trailer that's kept at the street department?
Actually, there's a trailer there now.
Is there a covered trailer?
It's not covered, but there's one there now.
Well, we want it covered just so that
Right.
the equipment is secure.
I would not want an officer who was in training to tow total car liability or total trailer liability was. There's a big difference between driving a police car and towing a trailer.
But we're not talking a big trailer here, we're talking
I
about
know,
things
but
here.
the liability involved, and the attorney can correct me if I'm wrong, but without training the officers to drive a trailer, there's a lot of
With all due respect, I tow a trailer all the time in the quad. I mean,
Yeah, but you're not police officers, there's like they're held to those different standards.
Are you gonna go after a vehicle in a police vehicle chasing with a trailer in the back?
Well, is an Expedition really gonna go after?
No, Motorola was after him. Radiohead and
Yeah.
Sigma took off, and he said something else after him.
Keep on the average, okay, if they do these commercial vehicle inspections. I think you said before that most of the fines, when they find violations, come to the borough?
What would happen is, I would propose a borough ordinance that would mimic the vehicle code, and we would charge the vehicle code violation and then offer the driver or vehicle owner to agree to the borough ordinance, and the borough would get all of it.
And roughly how much is all of the money?
I believe Barbara can tell you from Laughlin, the enforcement, there's thousands of dollars to be
Per
made.
vehicle? For
I had one inspection that I dealt with one of our officers, Mr. Zervis, at that time. He had about a $18,000 fine that people had to pay, and he went on a payment plan of paying $500 a month. So it was going to take the borough a while to recoup that money, because it was so stiff. But he was in a lot of violations.
I'm sorry?
Wouldn't that pay for the excess?
Other-
costs of fuel?
I haven't been able to
Other-
pay for itself in 2 years.
Other
honestly.
fines that were there were sometimes $3,000 and $4,000 each.
But that's probably not the typical fine.
With truck driving.
And assuming he doesn't, that's only assuming he pleads guilty. You know, if he goes to the magistrate, we know our history of the magistrate is not all that successful.
The only thing is, just, I know firsthand, just a couple typed words on the registration of the vehicle is $1,500.
But-
And the magistrate can't decide upon it because it's with roads.
If we have a borough ordinance in effect to have the big fines come back to the borough, you're getting all of the money.
From
You're not going-
experience, when you offer that type of plea, they don't take the hearing.
Thank you.
I'm just telling council, this is about the fourth time in my 12-year career here that I've heard this.
And we still have the problem.
This specific thing will be addressed. We've paid for another officer to go through this training with his promise of doing this, and it never happened. So I'm just cautioning council to be cognizant of that. I just, you know, it's gonna cost the borough, and I'm, you know, we're asking residents to pay a lot more money up front and over the long term for a promise that may or may not come.
Well, let's do it this way. Let me make my motion. We'll see if it's a second. If we do happen to get a second, then it comes out to a vote. At least this way we'll have an idea of what direction we're going. Okay. At this time, I'd like to make a motion that based on the recommendation of Chief Hunsinger, now Chief, is it a purchase or a lease?
It's actually a purchase of
Okay.
the interest that Barbara got from the bank, it's, you can't.
1.99%. Okay, so at this time, I would like to make a motion that we purchase the 2013 Ford Expedition, and the use of the vehicle and who would be using the vehicle would be dictated by the police chief.
There's a motion? Is there a second?
That's my motion.
I'll second that. Is there a-
Second, Ms. Craig. Question, Sam, I just had a question. Based on the conversation we had with DCD today, that's going to require a general obligation note for us to go through the whole entire ordinance process and all that,
Yes,
the whole process as a non-electoral debt.
yes, we can confirm it, we can run it from the flagpole, but my initial reaction would be yes, we have to go through the whole non-electoral debt process.
If this is approved.
Barb, how would we pay for this?
The payments would be deferred to January 31st and July 31st, so it would be semi-annual payments.
Right, but.
So where physically you're taking the money from?
Yeah, that's,
Excuse me, the
Sorry.
amount of money that we have already allocated for the lease payments, we would just be extending another year.
Give me a second.
See, which goes to police.
We're paying about $8,000 roughly this year.
8,000.
$8,000 a year for 3 years for the vehicle we have.
Right.
So that's $24,000. So how long are we paying on this?
Well, if we take the money for, we would be paying for 4 years. We'd
4
be
years.
taking it for another year.
So 4 more years. And in that time, we're going to need another vehicle or two.
And that's part of the plan that we talked about, having some sort of a fleet maintenance plan here. If you get another vehicle every 18 months to 2 years. And the other thing is, I asked the council about putting the vehicles out for bid, so that any money that we did recoup, we can put towards this, so that it reduces the cost.
And I just want to restate on the record my concerns with this purchase of the vehicle are out of the question. So I think it's going to be a costly expense to the borough.
And Barb, one other clarification I have, this $8,000 figure that you're talking about, that we already budgeted per year for a lease payment,
Yes,
okay? It would essentially be the same as since it's something that's already budgeted,
correct.
okay? We would just continue that budgeting that amount year after year until such time that the vehicle is paid for, right?
Yes.
So you're not really looking at any tax increase for it, it's just
No, because
keeping the
it's
same money in there.
continuing it in each budget, each annual budget.
I'm just taking it from the future.
Wasn't there in the budget, 27.5 budgeted for a police car? Last year,
No.
there wasn't? 2011, 2012, in there? There wasn't $27,500 in the budget for a police car?
There's a motion and a second. Is there any other questions?
We have a roll call.
On a roll call vote.
Mrs. Craig? Yes. Mr. Craig?
No.
No. Mr. Camus? What was that?
I didn't make a decision.
Oh,
I
sorry.
don't know what I want to do yet. No.
Ms. Barnelli?
Can we get more options?
That's what I need. Karen nailed it down. I need more options because I'm not sold.
There's a motion and a second right now, and you have to vote yes or no, or unless you have a reason to abstain, you have to.
My answer is no.
No.
Karen?
More options? No, more options.
Mr. Michaels?
Yes.
Mr. Chalk?
No. Motion failed. Is there any other general business for council at this time? And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Mr. Craig, seconds, Michael, question? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
I'm sure it was. It's probably transferred around.
How you been doing?